Friends, Bricky here on the edge of downtown Disney. You know what time it is. It's that time of the month where we walk all up and down downtown Disney, looking at all the different construction projects, all the different refurbishment projects, and let you know what you need to know for your next visit to downtown Disney. Let's get started. Friends, if you look behind me, you can see that the old stage that's directly behind me, which creates congestion issues because it's right in the main thoroughfare, is quickly getting replaced by the new stage that we saw in the concept art, which is just right on the other side of the wall. And while this may not seem like a huge shift to you, just imagine having this entire thoroughfare completely wide open where people can just easily take their pace to their destination instead of having to walk around a stage. And then when bands are performing at the end of the night, it will give them so much more room to actually entertain. And they have the stage, it appears, facing towards the hotels, which once again, at the end of the night, a crowd can gather without everybody trying to fight their way through the folks that are trying to see the band play. So just a quick little addition that I can already see a massive improvement. Let's hope that some of this soft opens before November 2024, because if you try to come through here at night when there's a band playing, it's unfair to the people that are trying to watch the band. It's unfair to the band, and it's unfair to guests that just have had a long day and they're trying to get back to their hotel or back to their car. Now with the monorail being down, there's only so much that we can see into the Disneyland Sarlacc pit, but we can see that the masonry wall, the big concrete block wall that we started to pop up last month, it looks like they're done with this part and they're moving on. And then just to give you an idea, that is where the new stage is with the Disneyland Hotel behind it. And also, may we never forget that this is an OG tree. So even though they'll put a lot of new trees, I'm assuming, in the landscaping of this part of downtown Disney, this bad boy was here before everyone else. But of course, we can also see, due to the proximity of the monorail track, the monorail will be shut down to, I believe, mid-August. Disney also making good use of this time to work on Soarin' Over the World that's right in front of the monorail track. So we can see, due to this proximity of construction, monorail's going to be down for a bit, but with the summer heat cranking up, not a huge loss because the monorail does close down somewhere in the 80-degree range, 85, 86-degree range, because it does not have air conditioning and it simply gets too hot for guests to ride inside. Now, unfortunately, that's about as much as we can see boots on the ground right in front of the monorail and in front of the new construction zone. But let's see if we can't get creative and find a couple of other vantage points to see what's happening inside of the Disneyland Sarlacc pit. Friends, behind me you can see a very big change from last month when we announced that the alley was coming into this sort of vacant parcel of concrete, kind of the last free open space of the current version of downtown Disney. And as we're seeing downtown Disney transform into more of an entertaining space, the alley was a decision that popped up. Managed by Splitsville, they promised that there would be food and recreation, games and stuff like that to play. So far, what we can notice is a lot of AstroTurf, a lot more seating for Splitsville, and that box at the very end, which is a shipping container. Those get picked up by cranes, put on boats, shipped around the world, pulled off by cranes, put on the back of semis. I know because my dad drove a container truck for years, but we can see the container that was just bright red is now psychedelic, and that's painted on there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this space. Is this the peak of the alley? Because if so, I would be disappointed. But if this is just a temporary seating arrangement just to make good use of the space now that they have the AstroTurf out here and there's more fun to come, then I'm all in. I do wonder if the barricade, though, is because of alcohol being served. I would love to see this space without a barricade so that people can just walk up and enjoy themselves. But definitely we're going to be keeping an eye on the alley. And thank you so much to many of you that commented when you watched last month's video. We do a Downtown Disney update every month. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you. But a lot of you did comment that you love ripping a day inside of downtown Disney before you start your Disneyland Resort vacation. And I love that as somebody who goes to Walt Disney World, and I can't wait to do all the things. It's not the 4 theme parks, the different hotels, the different restaurants. Like, I love the kinetic tissue of Walt Disney World. It was exciting to hear from me as a local that some of you folks love ripping downtown Disney before you kick off the big trip. And I hope these videos help you stay informed to this little slice of heaven next to paradise. I maybe oversold it. Now, still no vertical construction that we can see from this construction site. Like, they're not over the top of the wall yet. The wall appears to be about 8 foot. Looks like it's just made out of 4x8 sheets of plywood, framed out with a off-white frame, painted in various Downtown Disney colors, and then also have some advertising full color prints on some of the boards to advertise the 2 new restaurants that are coming here: a casual dining Mexican restaurant in the courtyard, and then a fine dining Mexican restaurant up on the upper deck. So we're not seeing it go vertical over the wall yet. We will try to get creative later on and see if we can't get a little aerial view down into this little project. But now that we know that this is all going to open up in 2024, it's interesting that they don't have to go as fast and as hard as maybe some of us would have guessed they would have. This thing getting tore all the way down to the concrete was not something I was anticipating. Them taking out sprinkles and gutting everything in there, I was not anticipating that either. I was thinking that everything that happened on this side of Downtown Disney would just be a cosmetic facelift. Everything happening down in the Sarlacc pit would be like really built up from the ground. But here we have a ground up construction project in the active part of Downtown Disney, which makes me really wonder about what's the future of the former ESPN zone, a building that is underutilized. What's the future of the Star Wars trading posts, because they're only using about 20% of the total footprint of that massive building that used to be a Rainforest Cafe. And then what's the future of Tortilla Joe's? Huge building sitting in a very important part of land, maybe cosmetically a design that they want to get away from. So the fact that this is a complete tear down and rebuild in the active part of Downtown Disney makes me wonder, some of these buildings, what are their fates going to be? Like, will Portals completely blow out old La Brea Bakery location and build something that matches their aesthetic there? Who knows? Now that we know that they've got over a year to make their deadline, it feels like a lot of bigger projects are actually more possible than what I had once assumed. Keep watching every week to see how it all comes together. You can see just how massive this construction project is and how it swells out into the main part of Downtown Disney. I'm looking for that to wrap up, because it bottlenecks it really tight around here, like extremely tight, and leaving the park at night, absolute nightmare. Now, if you hear a hissing noise in the background, it's that they're redoing the front facade of Soarin', because it is incredibly close to the edge of the monorail. And with the monorail being down, that gives them the ability to refurbish that building. If you want to see what that looks like, conveniently for you, it was in last weekend's DCA update. Make sure you subscribe, because I do one of these every Saturday. Downtown Disney, Disneyland Hotels, and of course, Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure, which I think I need to go in to get some Downtown Disney footage. All right, I told you we were going to have to get creative to look into these projects, and I'm not a liar. Let's take a Mickey's Fun Wheel, forever named to me, Rip, to the tippy top to find out what exactly we can see. Over here on the eastern side, or right-hand side of your screen, it looks pretty similar to last month, just a little bit more completed than what it was, obviously. And in the center, you can see where the stage is being built that I showed you at the start of our update episode. Then over to the west end, or left-hand side, we can see a new building that's being framed. But what's interesting to me is its metal framing, like this building over on the far eastern side that sits just feet from the monorail, which I believe is a big reason why the monorail is down for the next handful of weeks. So whatever it's going to be over on the west side is going to be very similar to what's on the extreme edge of the east side. Are these buildings going to be similar? Are these backstage buildings and we'll never see behind the bigger, more like boxy retail buildings? Who knows? Well, we will when we keep watching this every month. So whatever is going to be here is going to be more similar to this building on the far end than the big retail style box buildings we see made out of concrete blocks. All right, let's jump over to Sarlacc Jr., where you can see that they have edged out from the edge of the walkway. So they've dug down a little bit deeper, maybe I'm going to say 10 inches, a foot, maybe. But the concrete pads you see all around here, those are not new. Those concrete pads are like the base from the pillars of the previous structure that sit here. And where sprinkles used to be, you can see they're still in there gutting out the interior of that building. And my guess is they're probably using this space as a loading zone, getting things from the ground level up to the second floor. Now, keep in mind, technically, this second floor is a third floor. And where you see the concrete cutout, that's technically a second floor, because this part of downtown Disney has a huge shipping and receiving facility directly underneath it. So it's not like this particular project has dirt below it, like what we saw over at Sarlacc Sr. It has a warehouse type of loading dock directly underneath it. So there you go, friends. There's your update. No need to look at last month's footage as a ton hasn't changed, but when we see the major shifts, I will do the month-to-month breakdown so you get a better idea of where things are going. But I don't need to show you footage to show you that it's kind of going a little bit slow now. Well, friends, from atop California's adventure, peering out of a sky bucket to look into the Disneyland Sarlacc pit, I hope you had fun with this month's update of Downtown Disney. We'll do it again all over next month, but before then, don't forget, show up next Saturday when we look at the Disneyland hotels, and then after that, Disneyland DCA, where I'm at right now, and then right back to Downtown Disney. Every month, over and over again, keeping you updated on everything you need to know to make your next trip an amazing trip, because you'll be updated. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being a friend of Hey Bricky.
We are now approaching the parking structures. Please remain seated till your time comes to a full and complete stop. Now indicated it's safe to exit on the driver's right-hand side. We'll be exiting our track only on the driver's right-hand side. Thank you.